Hey folks, Mil-Spec Ops Mickey here. Let's talk prepping for a minute. If you jump over to monkeyworksprep.com, we've got an affiliate program going with My Patriot Supply that has made it really easy on you. Listen, we watch the world events happening right now and do recognize that our southern border is very porous. And if something were to happen here on our soil, you don't want to have to go out to get groceries or to take care of food issues for your family. You want to stay hunkered down until things blow over, right? Well, start thinking about your circle of friends or family. How many people are coming your way when things go south? I will tell you, you may think you have a year's worth of food, but if you've got 5 or 6 people showing up at your doorstep because they know you are a prepper, guess what? That food supply is going to go very, very quickly. So listen, if you would, jump over here to monkeyworksprep.com. That's monkeyworksprep.com. Or you can hit that little QR code right here on the screen with your phone, and it'll take you straight there. But they've made it easy on you, all right? Through that affiliate program at My Patriot Supply, which is a fantastic company, you're going to get it quickly. And right now they've got 25% off a 3-month emergency food supply kit. And you can see all the goodies that go into it. That stuff has 21 varieties, up to a 25-year shelf life, and there's all kinds of stuff inside this kit that's going to show up at your door very rapidly. It's 120 pounds of food and 21 varieties, like I said, breakfast, lunch, dinners, drinks, snacks. There's all kinds of stuff, and it lasts 25 years. And, oh, by the way, free shipping. So 120 pounds, free shipping. You can't beat that. But that's monkeyworksprep.com. That's monkeyworksprep.com. That'll take you straight into there. And we have a bunch of different varieties that you can choose from in terms of how big you want to go. You can do 3-month kits. You can do 2-week kits. There is a lot of stuff out here. So anyway, that is going to do it. monkeyworksprep.com. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your SITREP. It's around 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. And we're going to cover a lot of different things today, mainly looking at the stuff going on in Israel, but we're also going to talk about some of the little nuances that are happening that I think we should all be really concerned about. One is the comment made by Flashbang relative to New World Order. We continue to see them pushing that hot and heavy. We're going to look at the Great Reset a little bit just to show you where we are kind of on their map, so to speak. And then we're going to talk about the skies. What is moving? Where are the big pieces going? And is it aligning with what we're seeing in the news in terms of, you know, the movement of goods, you know, the war footing, everything. So we got a lot to cover. So just let's just get into it now. So without further ado, let's jump over here into Skyglass. I've got it started in the air refueler side of the house. We'll get into all of the other aspects here in just a second. But this, just to give you just a general feel, this one's coming down into the area towards the Mediterranean. Keep in mind, probably if I had to guess, this aircraft is going to be servicing the fighter aircraft coming off of the aircraft carriers in the Mediterranean, okay? Now, this also could be that as well. Not really sure, but that is very close to Gibraltar. And then we go up here to England to this side of the house. Let me turn off my refresh button there because that'll make it lag a little bit while I'm trying to move my screen. But you can see another U.S. asset. So the only air refuelers that I'm seeing up currently right now are U.S. asset refuelers. Now let's go over to CONUS and see what we've got going on there from an air refueling standpoint. Yeah, you saw that one out here in the middle of nowhere. What is going on here? Why is this guy out in the middle of nowhere? Kind of a strange place to be for an air refueler. Yeah, especially a KC-135. And that does look to be a U.S. military 767-200 out in the middle of nowhere. All right, then we got it over the Panhandle. You kind of expect to see that. We've got a lot of F-35s, et cetera, pilot training stuff down here. Now, most of the pilot trainer stuff that we strip out of our screen, which would be the Tex-2s and the T-38s, they don't have air refueling capabilities. That is a very hard task, by the way. You don't really get a lot of guys in the trainer side of the house doing that. So anyway, well, mainly because the aircraft doesn't have the capability really for a reason. So It looks like we're just getting spooled up here across the United States. Total count on screen is 23 air refuelers. So I'm going to strip that out. We're going to just get a count bottoms up here of the United States. Let me take these out, and then let's just see what happens here on our screen. Let me also just clear the traces. And 262. Now that does include the the trainers that are currently in there. So I've got 37 Tex 2s and 36 T38. So we take those out. That settles us in around 211 roughly over the United States. Okay. All right, let's look at our watch list. This is active. So these things were up just a short time ago. And just notice you've got the drone activity over Turkey. One that's kind of headed out towards where we see some of the U.S. resources going, out towards, and well, that right there's weather mod. So we're going to talk about that one here in a minute too. But the one that looks to be headed out to the, I think that's the Adriatic Sea, or Adriatic. But that particular one is of interest because we know we've got troops and stuff in Azerbaijan, etc. Okay, now look at this. Headed north. Notice just kind of splitting between Sweden and Finland. And that is an R-135. And then, of course, we get over to the United States. We do have the surveys in here right now. We're going to strip them out here in just a minute. But I just wanted to show you. It is kind of a light day for a Monday. We have a lot of weather coming across Texas, which may indicate why we have a lighter flow of trainers. Homeland Security, notice it's coming back from the border. That balloon, Intel balloon, along with this one, are two that are up over Texas. And it looks like that one is kind of headed back a little bit more to the central side of the U.S. E3 headed out to the East Coast. A lot of little NAs in there, right? Notice the NOAA over Florida. We're going to look at the NOAA birds here in just a minute as well. But yeah, just, and then of course, let me strip out the surveys here because it does kind of cloud things up a little bit or clog things up. Let me get this moved up to the top and we'll pull those, strip them out. There we go. And that does clean it up a little bit. There's probably about a dozen, maybe 14 survey flights that are up right now. Over Florida again, which I just don't get. All right, there is that. Now let's look at the Intel flights. We're going to start here in the United States and notice the one over Tennessee. And then we get the usual suspects up over kind of that D.C., Maryland side of the house, a little bit south of there. And then this one that's out over Wisconsin. All right. Remember, these are Intel birds, so they are looking for something. They're gathering data on ground, and these are your third-party ones, more than likely, like your LaSalle Aviations, okay? And then this, everything else looks normal. We've been watching it for a while, do those same patterns. But this one over kind of Romania, Bulgaria, I don't know what's going on, but they definitely have some concerns down on the ground in that area. It could be Serbia that they're really having eyes on. See a little sideways kind of shoelace looking thing going back and forth? You know, that would be looking out towards Serbia maybe. So a little bit of a concern there. And then, of course, over Israel, as always. All right. Speaking of that, we'll just kind of go into the deets on that one. This is the Israeli Air Force, and you can just see the just a lot of work. You expect to see that given the situation on ground. And we'll continue to talk a little bit more about this because I really don't know what's going on. Why Israel? Why Israel now, should I say? This isn't new for Israel, but this has kind of a different flavor for some reason, given the amount of response by the United States and all the neighboring countries. So it's almost as though this is intentional. And as we kind of get into some of the spend and what they're trying to spend their money on, in terms of the United States and how they're trying to bundle it, it makes you really kind of wonder if this isn't, you know, all part of the plan, so to speak, right? Okay, so we've got that aspect of it. Let's look at the C-130s in general. This is the last 24 hours. It's very, very light. It doesn't really align or match with what we're seeing on the C-17s, which we'll look at next. But I just wanted to give you a little flavor of what the smaller short-haul logistics footprint might be, shaping up to look like. Now, where do we not see it? I don't see it running across Europe, and I don't see it down in Israel, which I expected to see. But then you get into the C-17s, and this is where it gets really interesting, because notice where it is going, okay? I'm going to just pause that for a second. That right where my little mouse arrow is pointed, down below that is going to be the occupied West Bank, okay? What they call Palestine, all right? That area directly over the border there where you see all of the C-17 stuff landing there that's going into Jordan, which borders right up against that whole, occupied West Bank side of the house. So the flow of goods right now from a C-17 perspective, at least from a United States and maybe some NATO aspect, it looks to be headed over towards Palestine, not down towards the Gaza Strip. Now, I'm pointing that out because there was an article that came out over the weekend that basically said that the United States was starting today going to be just sending all kinds of support into Gaza. So I'm not seeing it, all right? Even with the current flights that are up, I'm not seeing that kind of activity going on. So something's not adding up here in terms of what they're telling people versus what I'm seeing in the air, okay? Now, if we go ahead and I'm going to press on with this just to show you that the support that appears to be going into Egypt, if you'll notice the traces here in just a second, are all coming from other Middle Eastern countries, okay? Which tells you, yeah, something ain't right here, okay? Moving stuff right into Egypt to the southern side of Israel. Notice the thick strips, though, as we look at the traces, how much, that's RZE Poland, by the way, right there, the one I just circled. But look at how many are coming and going in and out of the United States over into Europe and into the Middle East, but not Israel. All right. Look at this, up and down the East Coast. Makes you kind of wonder which direction this stuff is actually flowing. Okay. So, right. And you got a little bit there near Texas, and then, over the kind of usual locations that you see most of the traffic for C-17s, right? These are long-haul aircraft, right? They're Globemasters. They're named that for a reason because they can fly a tremendous distance, plus they have air refueling capability. So what do we not see, right? I see nothing over in Asia. I see nothing up over Alaska. What that tells me is the entire focus right now is not on Asia. It hasn't been for quite some time. It's all over Europe, and it's all over the Middle East, all right? Again, timing. All right, let's look at the R-135s. Just notice this one that pops out off of Alaska towards Russia, and then this one down off the southern coast towards Baja in Southern California. See that? R-135. Again, that's probably looking at ships and all kinds of different stuff. Those aircraft are super, super high speed. And I don't mean like travel speed, but just technology-wise. Notice where we don't see them. For the first time in forever, yeah, I don't see anything. Last 3 days, I got nothing. The only thing I see is this one that's popped out off the coast of Israel. I got nothing over Black Sea, nothing up towards Russia, nothing towards, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, those areas that we always see them. So that's important because for some reason, they're not really concerned about it. The intel community was very light, as are the 135s. Don't know. Can't explain it other than maybe just focus on where they are looking, because that's really telling us where we should be looking, okay? All right. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and get into the deets here. We're going to start off over here on flight radar. And this, I thought this was important. There are 11 volcanoes right now that are popping off, giving alerts for pilots, all right? 11, which is that's a pretty big number. So this one up here in Russia, you can actually see where the ash cloud is spewing that they are telling pilots to avoid. Now you click on that and it gives you basically the time that it's issued and where to avoid in terms of primary ash and secondary ash forecasting, okay? All right. But 11, which is pretty crazy. Now, you may not see the 11 because I was up high, but you can see this one cracking off in Mexico, down near Mexico City. And then you get these two that are also going off. You can see Fuego is really spewing right now. And then you get down into South America, and it just starts to, get pretty busy. As always, you typically see these along this area. That's that ring of fire, right? Okay, moving on. Here we go. Flashbang schedule for today. It is Monday the 23rd, and it looks like he is coming back from the beach, which we'll talk a little bit more about it. And oh boy, he is just doubling down on some of this. An event highlighting how Bidenomics and his Investing in America agenda are growing the economy. Yeah, it'd be an interesting one to hear because all the metrics are saying that it's going just the opposite direction. So delusional, I guess would be the word. But here we go. Biden requests $106 billion in military aid for Ukraine and Israel. Oh, by the way, and this is your Bohica moment for today. Check this out. The Israel piece is only $14 billion. The rest of it is really going all over here to Ukraine. So keep your eye on this one because, again, we're about to be bamboozled. And I'm going to talk more on Wednesday about the threat and I think why we need to be very, very alert here in the United States in terms of terrorist attacks potential, because I think we are being primed for some type of Middle East event. And although it may be limited, I don't think it's going to affect us and Israel directly. Israel will be doing their own thing, but I think the United States may have some periphery on that. And I say that because if we have a terrorist attack here in the United States, nobody will even worry one iota about where money is being sent and spent and how it's being bundled together, because everybody will do just like they did in 9/11 and go, hey, whatever you got to do, go do it. And nobody's going to ask questions. And that's exactly where they want us. Okay, they want to be able to spend that money and put it into Ukraine because that is keeping the deep state going. All right. So, okay, here we go. This is over on Breitbart. Crisis? What crisis? Biden enjoys a breezy beach walk as the Middle East explodes. Yeah, I was mentioning this on Friday SITREP as well. I was like, this is the time that he decides to just basically check out and go sit on the beach somewhere. I do have to just watch this gait that he has. It's so strange. Very strange. Very odd walk. It doesn't look like it's a lot of loose sand either, which, loose sand make you kind of walk funny anyway, but it looks pretty packed. Anyway, there we have it. It's enough of watching. It kind of walks like Big Bird. It's a little strange. Okay, we'll get off of Flashbang's gate. Let's talk about the Bidenomics aspect of it. Check this data point for you. Oil could hit $140 a barrel. Remember, they were saying it was expected to go over 100 a couple months ago, and around 120, I think. But now they're saying because of this Middle East thing, this is going to potentially spike it to 140 per barrel. If that happens, if the OPEC guys decide to throttle back on production, it's going to go through the roof. Yeah. And it's going to hit us in the wallets at the pump, which could put the entire world into a heavy, heavy recession. Most of Europe is already in a recession, but it'll put the United States in one very quickly. All right. Now, this is what really gets me, because if we listen to the words that come out of people's mouths, notice this one coming from Flashbang. We've heard King Charles talk about it. I know that doesn't roll off the tongue really well, but we've heard him talk about it a lot. We hear it coming out of a lot of the folks that are graduates from the World Economic Forum, right? So guys like Macron, right? Trudeau, every time they spiel something out, it's talking about new world order, right? And so this is no, exception. He is basically spewing the same thing. So keep your eye on this because this pushes their agenda. Remember, I said earlier. Well, why all of a sudden is Israel just sudden? I mean, it's just going hot. What's different? This has been this way over there for quite some time. Let's go look at the Great Reset for a second. And I want to point out one data point that we have to pay close attention to. Remember, all of the things that are on this particular spider chart, or whatever you want to call it, spider web chart, it's these are key enablers for the Great Reset. Anytime something happens big in one of those little dots, it allows them to basically propel their plan. All right. Notice the one that we have just right there above the red arrow. Yeah, terrorist attacks. Okay. What do we just see happen? And then what do we see in the response? I'm telling you, this is all part of the plan. This thing was, I'm telling you, they tabled this 2 years ago, if that tells you anything at all. So, but there's a lot of things that go on with that. Involuntary migration is kind of a forcing function whenever you have these attacks that take place inside of a country. And so eyes on that. All right. But this, again, this whole New World Order thing and the Great Reset, they go hand in hand. And I believe he is panhandling to these guys by spewing the same stuff, because I think he knows that his direct sponsorship is probably not happy with him. And so he is trying to basically panhandle to anyone that he can get, a leg up on. So, all right, let's move on here. Check this out. This I thought was kind of an interesting one too. Hezbollah has up to 200,000 rockets aimed at Israel. This is coming from an INSS assessment, which is the Institute for National Security Studies, saying that they have a vast arsenal of precision missiles, UAVs, and tens of thousands of fighters. When they say fighters, they're not talking about aircraft fighters. They're talking about these guys down here in the hoods. All right. Now, what is more interesting when you start talking about this, and the reason they have what they have, is don't forget, we've talked about this previously on Friday, and that is the fact that the United States left $7 billion worth of weaponry in Afghanistan that has since basically gone out onto the market. And that is how these guys are getting everything that they need to go do these fights, right? All right. Moving on. Israel-Gaza situation report. U.S. flows missile defense into the Middle East. This is different, okay? And when we talk about missile defense, you talk about the stuff that we see Israel popping off to hit these little tiny rockets that are coming in that, they're not very big. These are different type of missile defense. And this is why this is important. We need to point this out, is that we start talking about THAAD and additional Patriot batteries. The THAAD missile system is, that's a high altitude area defense, okay? That's for stuff like nukes, right? That is important because you're not using THAAD to knock down the little stuff that's coming over from the north or from down in Gaza or even in the West Bank for that matter. This is directly for the big items, the ones that can really put a big dent in things. So for us to be deploying THAAD systems into that region tells you that the threat level for something very big to go off it's there, or we wouldn't be doing that. Okay. All right. We'll move on to this piece. Hamas and IDF ground forces clash for the first time inside of Gaza. This happened over the weekend. Now, here's the interesting thing, is that they have not started the ground offensive yet. They were green lighted on Friday to go do it. But remember, they were going into their Shabbat, which means that they're Thursday at sunset. They don't do anything until Saturday at sunset. Okay. And then at that point, they're out of Shabbat. Sunday is the first day of the work week. And that is when they would have started maybe some of this ground offensive. Now, I think the thing that is holding this up, and I'm going to show you because I thought this was really not good. And let me see if I can pull this up for you here. Check this out. Now, I had heard, oh, we're slowing things up because we're trying to get aid into Gaza, et cetera, and it's allowing, different things to take place over there. It was just a stall tactic. But look at this. Israel agreed to the U.S. request to delay the ground entry into Gaza Strip until more American forces are sent to the area. Right? That's coming from one of the on-ground military correspondents there in Israel. So that tells you we are about to push all in to the area. Again, this is why I think we have a tremendous amount of threat in terms of threat level here on U.S. soil for terrorist attacks. And again, we'll talk about that more on Wednesday. But this is just another yet data point for you. It looks like the U.S. is sending additional stuff into the region, anticipating this is going to go super hot. All right. Okay. And then the aid convoy enters Gaza from Egypt for the first time as confirmed. Check out the hostage number, 210. Now, there is some shade being thrown at Bibi Netanyahu right now because he allowed them to bring aid into Gaza before getting the hostages out, which was a stupid, stupid move. So just keep eyes on this. I would agree with that comment, honestly. Why would you allow them the aid? You'd use that as a leverage. You want aid? You free up the hostages. Otherwise, it's going to get bad. And so the fact that we're allowing stuff to flow in, you're basically feeding your enemy, and which is really not a good policy. And good luck getting those 210 remaining hostages out. It's going to be very tough. All right. Now, I was mentioning that this has, I'm just going to hit this real fast because this will give us a bottom line up front. This isn't the first time that the Middle East has gone hot. We've been watching it our entire lifetime of just different things popping off, whether it was, 1948, whatever it may have been, this is a 2014 Gaza war, right? Went on for 50 days. It took place in 2014. So again, it's not the first time this has happened, but this feels different for some crazy reason. And I believe this is all being orchestrated by the powers that be, right? You got people that are, this is all part of the plan. And I believe, honestly, that's exactly what we're watching unfold, especially when it comes to the deep state and their willingness to continue to push funds into Ukraine, knowing that they're not even moving the needle. And for them to actually offer up, another $80-90 billion into Ukraine, giving out of that 106, giving Israel a little skim off the top. Just know that the money that is probably going to go to Israel, that's in the 14 billion, you can guarantee that there's a lot of that going in to Gaza and into Palestine, or the occupied West Bank, as we call it. The rest is going to Ukraine. So that would put the Ukraine number at over $200 billion for a war that has moved nothing. Okay. In fact, it has depleted all of our resources, as well as many countries that are part of the NATO alliance. It's taken away a lot of their ability to fight because they've given up all the extra stuff that they had, to the point that it's been detrimental to their own defense, right, or potential offense. All right. Now we're going to go over here to the NOTAMs, and this is where I do want to point out some really kind of some strange ones. Notice this storm that's out here off of the, I guess, south of Alaska and west of California. But notice this box. Now, when I click on it, it's a really kind of a strange, odd shape. But when I click on it, it doesn't really give me anything other than it's a reserved airspace. I'm going to be watching for the NOAA flights to see if we have anything indicating some movement out there by NOAA. And we'll be watching also just to see if there's anything else that pops off. But very, very strange, I thought, given that location. And then the other one that caught my eye was this. This is a exercise going to take shape off of Iceland that we'll pay close attention to as well. But if I go over here and I look at the NOAA side of the house, you can see this is the last 10 days. Just notice where the activity is off of the Southern California area, right? And then you get up to Washington State, and then notice the one that runs straight across, all the way across the United States into the area that's been getting a lot of rain. You get into Wisconsin, and look at all the flying that's going on there. This is against the science guys. And then look at this little grid pattern they've got going over Iowa and then off the East Coast. But then look at this. This is where it gets really kind of strange. We'll look at a little bit of Florida. Notice that broken trace headed across the drink. Looks to be headed towards Terceira Island. Notice, now that you expect, there's been a lot of activity going on down in that general region for hurricane hunters, et cetera, okay? But then you see this broken trace here, all right? Very busy and active off of Florida, but then also off of Louisiana and Mississippi and that side of the house. But let's go take a look at Africa. And this is where it gets really, really strange. Now, some of the research that I've done in the past, I will tell you that in the mid-70s into the 80s, there were programs that were going on by NOAA over Africa intentionally. Like, look at this, over Cape Town in that general area. What are they doing there, right? Spraying maybe? But this activity that took place in those the 70s and 80s, they did deliberately with NOAA because they knew that the African nations wouldn't be able to complain about it. They wouldn't know who it was, what was going on. They would be completely oblivious to it. So that was part of some of the research that they did over that general region. And yes, that is changing the weather, all right? Now, here, check this out. We showed you early on when I was showing you the watch list the fact that we had some spraying going on. We saw the Weather Modification LLC aircraft out here over Saudi, right? This is Mecca and Medina, where they've been doing a lot of spraying. This, I would probably venture to guess, if we looked into the weather mod side, this was probably where it was, okay? But check this out. I thought this was really kind of strange. I've never seen one out in this general area. But look at this storm that's coming through. That's I don't know if you call it a hurricane or a monsoon or what out in that general area. But it got to a Cat 3, and that's headed into Saudi. So if they are up here spraying and you bring this big wet system in, watch, you're going to see some flooding going on. I can just about guarantee it. Very strange, though. Like I said, I don't ever recall seeing something like that there. I'm sure it happens. I'm never looking in that area. So anyway, all right, let's move on. Let's get on to the other side of this. Okay, check this out. Now, this is your Navy Fleet Tracker. It is dated intentionally. I'm not trying to show you exactly where things are. What this is over on USNI News. And it basically gives you kind of the location of where most of the fleets are currently located. Now, that Eisenhower, we already know that thing's over here towards the Mediterranean. And that is because we saw notification that it was headed that way, all right? It'll take a little bit of time to get in here. But this is from, October 16th. So it's 10 days old. So I would imagine the Eisenhower is probably pretty close to that general area now. And then this one, I thought that was interesting. The LPD 19 right there just to the southern side of Italy. And then, of course, we know that Gerald Ford is right here off of the coast of Israel. And like the earlier thing I showed you said, they basically they're buying time for the United States to get assets into place. So I don't know, just a data point for you, but a very interesting one to say the least. Okay, so we're going to look at the military bases for several reasons. One, I want to see, do we have any migrant moves? Okay, and the other is, what are the big hunks and chunks moving around the world that would tell us that things are going one direction or another? Okay. So this is Biggs Army Airfield. This is up in El Paso, Texas. And notice you got a National Cargo 57 coming in from St. Louis. That's a narrow body, right? This Glex, this is going to be an Intel bird. And then this is Swift Air, right? iAero coming in from Kansas City. This is an immigrant machine right here. These guys move them all over the United States. and down into South and Central America. All right, but notice this one, it looks to be headed to Valley from here. So again, that takes you to a Texas border, and the Glex looks to just be in and out. Now we get down a little further, and notice what's scheduled to come in. We got an Eastern Airlines 67, and then this, which is a 737 MAX coming in from Chicago, United Airlines. So this one's coming out of Topeka. This one's coming from Chicago. Where's it going back to? It looks like the United is headed back to Chicago, a small aircraft, right? And then this 57 is headed up to Bedford, Massachusetts. I don't think any of these are troop related. They appear to me to be migrant moving equipment, okay? All right, then over to Dover. We're looking for the big ones. This is, don't know who owns that. Maybe it's an Israeli asset, but it's coming in from Ben Gurion. And then we've got an Atlas Air coming in from JFK. And then that Atlas Air looks to be headed to RZE Poland from here. And I don't see the other one. The Ben Gurion is not showing outbound yet. All right. Okay, let's move on. And this is going to be Ramstein. Look at the rain. Man, they're getting a lot of rain over there right now. And let's see, anything on here? Camper coming in from Baltimore, Washington. That's troops. And this one looks like that stays as a camper headed to an unknown destination. Then we go down a little further, and that one, notice 747 coming from Kuwait, headed up to Ramstein, right? And then we're going to back on over here to RZE Poland and see if we've got anything catches my eye. I've got one 747 that I see coming in from Dover, and that's an air refueler up here, KC-30. See if we got anything else. Just the Dover. Yeah, an MD-11, that's going to be troops coming in from Columbus, Ohio. And then we get over here to this side. Looks like that one is the Atlas Air. Looks to be headed on over to Seoul, Korea. I would imagine they're headed over to get more artillery, the 155 millimeter that we get from them. I see a base commander coming in and out from Wiesbaden. And nothing else. So that's it. So very, very light in terms of forward operating base in Ukraine. Again, we're at the back end of the window in terms of any type of, I think in terms of the escalation of war. I think it may maintain its status quo for right now, but it doesn't look like we're putting any more stuff into Ukraine. We're going to basically let things slow down, and let's see what the Russians do. They look to be moving around in terms of their locations. Everything that I'm seeing looks like they're starting to build up north of Kiev in terms of troop movements from the Russians, okay? All right, here are your camber flights. Let me back it up. You can see some big moves. This one looks to be coming out of Bahrain, and some stuff out of Europe. This down looks like Sofia. It kind of looks to be Sofia in the general area. And then United States-wise, looks like we got some stuff coming out of Colorado Springs and Sumter, South Carolina. That's probably troops. All of this will be troops if I had to guess. I don't see that big one right there, 747. Well, that could be some troops, but headed to Sofia. Yeah, that could be things like Humvees, etc. 747, that they like to move mainly equipment on there. They can use those narrow bodies for troop movements, but you can't use the narrow bodies to move, large equipment like M1 Abrams and Humvees, etc. They just don't fit. So, okay. And then this is going to be the Reach. So this is Air Mobility Command. This will be mainly C-17s that you see up, but there'll be C-130s too. But based on the icons, it looks like C-17s. So it looks like one landing at Dover right now. And then this one, I don't even know how to explain that. St. John's, Canada. All right. Evidently, is there an island down there? I guess maybe. It looks kind of off. I didn't know that we had anything out that far. So anyway. All right. So a little Reach landing out there. Taking off, actually, looks like. And then this is going to be your Brits. So this is their equivalent of the Reach kind of thing. It's a Air Force transport. And just notice it is very active and busy. Kind of right now looks to be in the Italy side, but they look to be going in and out of Greece and Cyprus. Okay. And then we have National Cargo, 747s. This, all right, so coming out of Spain into Dover, it looks like, or JFK, yeah, to JFK. And then this one looks to be coming in, it's at 41,000 feet, coming out of Iceland, headed southbound. And I can't tell where that's actually headed. It could be going into Spain as well. All right, Omni, coming out of Austin, Texas to Mexico City. That's a strange one. I don't even know what to make of that, but that's where it's heading. So you just, you got a data point for you. All right. And then this is going to be your immigrant machine. Just notice coming out of South Florida down into what looks to be, let me just go down on the board here, Miami to Holguin, and Columbus to Valley, Houston to San Pedro Sula. And yeah, so a lot of stuff south of the border. It looks like, with the exception of this one right here, that looks to be headed to Denver, Colorado from the border. So it looks like we're giving some folks a ride up, free pass, up to Denver. So, all right. And you wonder why we have such a high terrorist attack opportunity here in the United States. Okay, folks, so listen, that's going to do it for now. Again, Wednesday's show, we're going to talk about this terrorist threat here on U.S. soil and what that could really do to all of this stuff going on around the Middle East and the world, and why it may actually be part of the plan. So that's it. You guys be safe out there. Keep that powder dry and stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. You can check out the latest gear and products by selecting the QR code on your screen now, or go to monkeyworksus.com.